I'm just here frantically trying to cut different lengths of hose so that I can MacGyver the fluval pipe onto a normal hose pipe for this new water change system that I'm doing. And I assume I've primed the filter because water has started coming out of there. I've just managed to get the plug wet as well, so hopefully I haven't just blown the fuse. But it looks like, even though, yeah, that needs to be higher than the canister. So the idea is I've got the old automatic water change system set up, and I've actually managed to slide the existing one down the back of the bottom tanks, so it's a little bit neater, so I don't have loads of hose running everywhere. Obviously I do for the air hose, and then the one on the top isn't attached yet, but I've done that one a little bit differently as well. So you can see all of these green bits of garden hose just dangling there, and I've got a light just dangling there as well because I dropped it in the tank, so it needs to dry out. The lights are waterproof, it's fine. But I've got water draining out of here. So I'm assuming I have primed this Fluval 307 canister filter. I think it's 307. It is the 307. So it looks like I've primed that. The idea is, instead of having to try and get the siphon going each time, I can just flick this filter on and it's going to suck the water out for me, she says. So let's get it all connected up and let's see if my theory is going to work. Obviously to fill the tanks back up, I will just put my hose in and run it straight off the water mains, which is super easy, but this is going to make it so I don't have to do water changes with buckets, which obviously for pregnancy and postpartum is going to be very useful. I don't think I should be really doing buckets now, and I have been. So yeah, and then the next job is to move the black chin Livebearers out of this tank, which I just popped them in temporarily. They have got a new dedicated tank to go into, which will hopefully grow the colony out, which is going to be a little bit cooler because this tank is just a little tiny bit warm for them. And then I can make it a little bit brackish in there for them as well, which they really enjoy. All of the babies are in a different tank. So, yeah, this bucket is slowly filling up, so let's see if this works. So I should be able to plug that in. Filter should then fire up. Yep, okay. Water is exiting. Okie dokie, and it should be sucking out of these. Should be getting removed from these tanks. Although it appears that the siphon has been coming out of this tank because this one has been... Oh, okay, and then I have baby fish in here, so I better make sure there's something on the end of that as well. Oh, okay. But is it going to suck water just out of that one? Same song and dance we had with the other one. I'm just going to quickly cap the end of that because I forgot about the baby fish. And I don't want to suck up loads of black chin metallicus. There we go, so I do have suction on these two tanks. I think the water is leaving these relatively evenly. That tank has not got suction on it at the moment. And this tank, I've just capped it, so I think I've ruined the siphon. But I think I'm going to actually catch the little black chin metallicus out of here. They're big enough not to get eaten by the adults now. So I think before I stir all of this muck up to get sucked up, I'm going to catch these little dudes out and pop these in the new tank. And then I'm going to stir all of this stuff up so that the water change system can suck all of this up, because there's some vampire Plecos in this tank, and apparently they like to make a bit of a mess compared to that one. It's interesting how much different fish will produce a lot of mess. Okay, so now for my next trick. I've done this bottom row. This looks so pretty, just with the light right above it and the water rippling. It's a really, really pretty effect on that tank. The air has stopped in the other ones because it is too low, so it's not rippling. But this one, the outlet pipe has fallen off it somewhere, so we're getting bubbles in this one. It looks so pretty, all with the water rippling like that. So this one I've actually ended up scooping some of the mulm out, and I'm going to sort that out manually. But the other ones look pretty good. We've got a just over 50% water change done on those. Got a little bit of mulm to scoop out that one as well. So for my next trick, we're going to do the same with this top one. Now I haven't got the sort of J-shaped or L-shaped nozzles on these because there was no point, because it just needs to suck the water straight out of it. So whether that is going to change how this works, I don't know. Basically that just runs across the top, and it's literally just T-pieces which then run into the tanks. This tank is full of Endler babies, so I'm going to move these guys. There's loads of them in here. I'm going to move these because I don't have another cap. And the cap I have is probably a little bit too wide still, so I'm going to move these into their own tank, which luckily I have ready. And then, my next trick, I'm going to basically attach where the bluebell hose attaches onto this one, which is connected to this lot, which is down the back of these. I'm going to attach it to this end piece here, and then hopefully repeat the same thing, and it's going to suck all the water out of these ones. So then, to do water changes on these 8 tanks, all I have to do is connect the hose up and switch on the filter. And then hopefully it should suck all the water out, and I don't have to keep going backwards and forwards with buckets. She says, in a perfect world, but we'll see. I'm going to catch these little guys out first, and then we'll go from there. Here we go, it sort of works. We have water removed from the tanks and mulm and things because I stirred it up. However, I think I need to make it so that some of the intake stems are shorter than the others. Or, I wish there was some sort of like valve that as soon as it sensed that there was water that it would like shut off, but I don't think that exists. Like a float valve or something? I don't know. However, I have managed to drain water out of tanks without using buckets. So that's a really good start. And to be honest, that is probably a little bit overkill for a water change on that tank. That might be a little bit much, so it's not really the end of the world. But the first tank to drain has obviously then got rid of the siphon, so it's now not primed again. So we're going to fill them up. I've got hundreds and hundreds of Endler fry in here. But these little Endlers just love to breed. Love, love, love to breed. There are a couple of males that have matured out of this lot. So I'm going to pop a couple of extra females in here. And then same sort of thing. Keep some females and some males in another tank. And grow this lot out. Because Endlers seem quite good. They don't really seem to eat their fry too much. So this one is actually one of my favourite tanks now. I've actually put my L397s in here as well, my Alenka Tiger Plecos, because the tank I had them in, it just wasn't man enough for them. And they've got a little bit more space to get away from each other in here. The hornwort is growing like crazy. And yeah, we've got the black chin Livebearers in here, the Gerardinus metallicus, which they're breeding really nicely. So a lot of these little ones are babies that have grown up here, and then basically what I do is if there's too many males, I pop some of the males in a different tank so that the females aren't getting constantly harassed, and then I've got a couple of big females in a different tank that I'm just letting them sort of drop fry, and then I'll move them over as needed. But there are quite a few fish in here actually. I think they're all sort of down by the food at the moment. But they're a beautiful little Livebearer. And what I'm doing is, just over the winter, I'm going to be focusing on breeding as many of these out as I can, so that people can enjoy them as much as I am. So I've got a couple of, I managed to get a glob of paint on this tank, but we've got a couple of the L397s in here. It's quite a male heavy group. I think I've only got a couple of females. There's another one. Quite male heavy. There's one of the girls. And it's a little bit cool down here for the L397s. I'm trying to strike a happy balance. But because they're so messy, it helps slow down their metabolism a little bit. And they're by the door, so the barometric pressure and stuff swings a little bit more. And I'm hoping, I have heard that the hormones from the Livebearers breeding can help to trigger the other ones to breed as well, the Plecos to breed. But there are quite a few of these Metallicus in here. It's probably a good sort of 40 to 50 of them. That's a nice female. Look, you can just see that lovely metallic line that they have down their bodies. And then if I can get the camera to focus on a male. These are all females. The males have the black chins on them. There's one. And they also look like they have blue eyes as well, which is really pretty. Almost reminds me of the, what they call the killifish. Not glow eyes, that's the wrong word. Lamp eyes. Almost remind me of lamp eyes a little bit, if anybody's familiar with those. But yeah, I really like this tank. I don't know whether it's because of the lights I've got on here or because it's so simple, just with the hornwork and the big chunks of slate that I got from the landscaping section in the garden centre ages and ages ago. But it's just really, really simple. Just the black chin Metallicus and the L397s in here. And I just really like what this tank looks like. Very straightforward. So this tank I've got up here, these are some shop fish. These aren't personal fish, these ones, as much as I'd love them to be. So I've got a group of quite mature now albino bristlenose Plecos. So there's 2 males in here and the rest are females. I think there's sort of like 5 or 6 females. And then I thought it was 2 females of the Rio Momon green spotted ancestress, which is this beautiful fish you can see here. But one of them, I think it's actually this one, has actually sprouted a beautiful nose full of tentacles and has started battling with one of the bristlenoses for the cave as well. So I thought I had 2 females, but this one is actually, I'm pretty sure, is a male. And the other one isn't as outgoing, but it definitely doesn't have as many bristles on its nose. So they might actually be a pair, which is quite interesting. I've had them really quite a while, mainly because not very many people stock these, and not very many people are going to want 2 females, because, you know, they kind of look like just normal bristlenose, unless you get them right under the light, in which case you can see the beautiful green on the males. But yeah, I'm hopeful that this was just a really late bloomer and that they're actually a male and a female. Worst case scenario, the other one will suddenly sprout loads of tentacles up its face as well and turn out to be a male as well. But at the moment, it looks like there's a male and a female in here. I also have, if I can scroll over without frightening it, there's a pair of Contradens Plecos in here as well. But they're very, very shy. There we go. So there's one of them. So there's a pair of Contradens Plecos in here, and I have another one in a different tank that was a little bit thin, that I've been working on getting to fill out a little bit more. In fact, it's on some food at the moment. I'm going to see if I can scroll over to that tank without frightening it, but I probably will. Let's see if I can do this. There we go. This is the one that needed a little bit of work. But it's actually started to fill out quite nicely now, so hopefully they can go in and be a trio soon. And they've got really beautiful big spots on them. Really, really beautiful. And I've got a group of stir-by-crows in here as well, actually, which I'm umming and ahhing about selling them. The idea was that they were supposed to breed, but I haven't managed to trigger them to spawn yet, and they were very, very young when I got them. Thing is, because I'm over at an angle, we're looking a little bit blurry. Let's see if I can get a little bit closer. There we go. Get a little bit closer and try not to frighten everybody. So I've got some really, really beautiful stir-by crows in here. beautiful group of 5, which they are about adult size now. They were about half this size when I got them. They were real babies. And yeah, I'm thinking that the idea is I want to breed them, so hopefully I can get more stir-bys out of them. I do have 3 really big mature ones that I might mix in with them, just to see what they will do. But they're very happy little fellas. And yeah, just got the Conjadens, and there's a pair of Super Reds in here. I kept back the 2 cleanest ones. I've only got 2 left. And the idea is those 2 are going to hopefully breed when they're old enough as well. I kept the ones with absolutely hardly any black on them whatsoever. So hopefully they are going to breed and produce lots of beautiful German Super Reds for me, which are very popular as well. So this tank, I've got a couple of juvenile Rio Paraguays left, the Ancestress Rio Paraguays. I've only got, I think, 2 in here, and then I do have a nice group of mature ones. So there's a female, and oh, there's another female behind as well. So I do have a male, and I think there's 3 females in here, which are all breeding size. So these ones are available, and then what I did was I separated out a male and 2 females into a different tank because I'd run low on these beautiful juvenile ones because last year's lot they'd all sold. I thought it was maybe time to breed some more. So what I did was I separated a male and a couple of females out into a different tank, and that was very successful because within about 24 hours I had some beautiful eggs. So hopefully they are going to grow out into more of these beautiful Ancestress Rio Paraguays with the big red spots on them. And I can keep that line going because yeah, this adult group is available, but I do want to keep going with them because I do quite like them with the orange spots. I do think they're quite fancy and quite spectacular really. So some of these females are F1 Wilds, so they're not as flashy, but what I did is I crossed them with some Czech ones, which are very red and have big odd spots, so we ended up with a little bit of a mixture of the 2. So there's some lovely Ancestress Rio Paraguays. And here he is. Here's that lovely male that produced that lovely batch of eggs for me. So he's got some real tentacleage going on. There is a baby just on the inside of this seal just here. I don't know whether I'll be able to zoom in on them or not. So I've left a lot of the mulm and the poo from the adults in here. I don't like to keep my fry tanks immaculate because they need the prebiotics and the bacteria and things from their parents' stomachs, from the gut, to actually kickstart their digestion. You see a lot of people breeding Bristlenose and then not being able to raise the fry, and I have a feeling, now obviously there's no science to this, but I have a feeling personally that it's because people try and raise them in these sterile breeding box containers. And I personally don't have any problems raising fry. I don't have them going skinny, and I don't have them, you know, failing to thrive or struggling to eat or anything. The main problem I have is actually finding them. They're all underneath this crease here. There's a piece of slate, and there's literally loads of babies in this gap just above where this male is. So they're all in there, and I did try and aim the food down on top of that so that they'd all come out and stick on the food. But apparently just this one wants to come and have a look, and it wants to just dance around right where we can't see it. There we go, there's one little fry. And they've absorbed their egg sacs and they're actually starting to look really good now. So they're literally about 4 or 5 days out of the cave. So they're probably about a week old now. And then there's 2 chunky females in here as well. One of them was very, very eggy when I put them in. Obviously, I said I got eggs within about 24 hours of putting them in this tank. There's just one male, and then I put 3 caves in so that he had a choice, but he went for the middle one. And yep, I'm just feeding them Pleco Pops. That's what I raised the other ones on. Didn't have any problems with that. They should be able to eat mostly algae. Don't know whether I can shine a light. And oh, apparently my flash doesn't want to come on. Okay, interesting. So yeah, sorry about that. I had hoped I'd be able to show you a little bit clearer. But there is one baby Pleco for you to see swimming around. But I'll pop in a montage of the babies growing up and him fanning them and the eggs and things so that you can see the process of those. And next door is my L280. What are these called? Now these are technically a Hypancistrus, but I like to call them a Microcanthicus. I think they were recategorized into a Hypancistrus, but I'm not convinced. Personally, they're more of a Microcanthicus, and they're more similar to like a really, really tiny cactus Pleco than a Hypancistrus. I guess at a push, they're probably kind of similar to Conjodens Plecos. But I haven't seen any fry out of these yet. They have really, really small spawns. But the males are looking really keen and they are really plump. They do eat quite a lot. But they only have like 3 to 10 eggs per spawn. They're really, really small, small batches of eggs out of these. And these are proven breeders. There are 2 babies in here that are from their previous owner. But these are Microcanthicus vandrati or Hypancistrus vandrati Plecos, the L280. And this is as big as they get. So they are literally about 5 or 6 centimeters long. And they're really beautiful. They're super spiky. They've got these funny little buggy eyes right on the top of their heads. And they're super chill with each other as well. They're not like aggressive. They don't seem to argue. There we go, we can see you a little bit better. So that's one of the males, the other male is there. And then there's a third male in the big bit of wood down in a gap. And then the females literally just hang out down the back. Really beautiful, super armoured, super spiky. Got these funny lumpy heads on them. Whoop. Here we go, that's the female of the Super Reds that I kept back. She's really clean as well, just a couple of black speckles on the tail, although I think some of that might even just be mulm that's been kicked up, but you can just see she is going to produce some really nice fry. Just gone up on the filter. But yeah, just got a little bit more growth on them yet. And that's good. Apparently I dropped an elastic band in here this morning because I sent out a lovely group of these Venezuelan oranges this morning. And apparently I dropped an elastic band in when I was doing it. So there are 5 of these left now. Beautiful little, oh my goodness, they might not even be called Corydorus anymore. I think without looking it up they are potentially Ogliogastas, which does not have the same ring to it, but these are orange Venezuelan Corys as the common name. And they're a little bit shell-shocked because I was obviously in here and took away half of their brethren this morning. And there's also the L262 pair in here. but I've just frightened them, so we're going to have to wait a minute to see those as well. And yeah, I need to pull that elastic band out of there before I forget about it. And I actually moved the blue-black Panax into this bigger tank because they were producing really quite a large amount of waste actually, which I guess is a really good thing because it means they're eating. There's one under this stack of rocks that you can just see here, so I'll just focus on him because they do enjoy hiding amongst this stack of nice rocks that I've got here, but you can just see that beautiful cobalt blue on them. And they're doing really well. They're eating an awful lot. They seem to really enjoy the Pleco Pops with the really high algae content. This that I've mixed up today is actually mostly cricky dough. There's only a really tiny amount of algae in today's mix, just because that's just how I mixed it up. So they might not be as keen for it today. But there's one of them. Doing really nicely. They're really splendid. Beautiful cobalt blue colour. One of my favourites. And this is another one where this is basically as big as they get. So really good in smaller tanks. Just got to make sure you've got the flow and the high algae content for them, as they are a Barian cistrus. So these are obviously a really shy little species. They do know that they're small, bless them. These are the beautiful L129 Colombian zebra plecos. And they spend an awful lot of time down in the DIY filter and in this tangle of wood. But they are eating. I know that because they produce quite a lot of waste actually, but obviously there's like 15-20 of them in here. And they are really pretty little fellows. Just obviously they know they're still quite young. They're about half the size they're going to get. They'll probably get about 7 centimetres. And they are obviously a little bit shy, but they're slowly coming around to me. Really beautiful L129 Colombian zebra plecos, and that one stays there most of the day. But I did just do a water change on these guys before I put the food around, so they're a little bit like, oh, leave me alone. Bless them. One of my favourites actually as far as high-plant citrus go. They're just a little bit something different about them. In this tank the reflection's awful because it's up the other end where that 5-foot tank is. But I've got the old school 1970s endlers in here, sort of original ones that haven't been messed with, haven't been hybridized as much. And then yeah, there's these lovely L202 Picoltia lineolas in here, the Orinoco tiger plecos they call them, or false leopard frogs, and they are just a little bit jumpy. But I've got a lot of endlers in here, and then I've got a tank full of endler babies elsewhere as well. But they do seem to like, there's one that likes hanging out in this floating bit of wood. They're an interesting species, but I'm slowly taming them up. Slowly but surely, but they've got this beautiful bumblebee stripes down them. They're really quite similar to like the L397s actually, a little bit more yellow, but obviously they're a Picoltia, which means they're not as messy. And they're a little bit more forgiving in terms of, you know, water flow and things like that. They're probably going to get on a little bit better in your normal conventional tanks. And yeah, loads and loads of endlers. But I'm slowly trying to get these guys to tame up. But as soon as they see me, they're just not keen, because they are obviously wild. And they've only been in the country just shy of a month. But you can see those beautiful bumblebee stripes and that lovely bright orange pattern on them as well. Really cool species. I'm really pleased I got these in. So that's L202 Picoltia lineola. Or they call them Orinoco tiger plecos, even though they're not from anywhere near the Orinoco, I don't think. I feel like false leopard frog Pleco is probably quite good as well. Some people like the leopard frog plecos because they're really, really contrasting with the red, not red and white, the black and white. But then some leopard frogs, as they grow especially, can get very yellow. So I think these are probably heading more towards some of the other Plecotias that have that, like the candy stripes, that have that orangey look. But these are really quite orange, and the stripes are really quite striking on them. Beautiful, and I'm glad this one's holding still so that we can see it. Something that interests me as well is they have really, really pretty eyes. They have almost like this extra reflective streak in their eyes, which makes it look really like bright. But I'm just counting my blessings that this one is actually holding still so that I can get some good footage of it. But I'll see if I can pop a photo up of one that I got showing its beautiful eyes, because that's something that I really noticed about them. They've got different eyes. Really pretty. So this is a tank that I set up for myself, which has got my diamond tetras in it. There's also my group of Microtaenopoma and Sorghii in here, which might grace us with their presence. I might have to pop another video on after this that shows at least one of them coming out. The main feature in here is the beautiful diamond tetras, of which I could do with some more because the males are getting quite bulgy. There's also my L236 super whites growing out in here. My little black lancer catfish is in here as well. And there's also my African butterfly cichlid as well, who's just popped up right on cue actually. So I just chucked this together as a nice little, I suppose, unconventional community tank for myself. The Microtaenopoma mostly stay to themselves. They're all in this wood, which is all hollow. And then I've just stuffed it full of some really nice Anubias plants. And this is a Fluval Roma 125, this one. So I wouldn't mind maybe double the amount of diamond tetras. I think they're quite male heavy, but you can certainly appreciate why I'm so fond of the diamond tetras, because those two dominant males at the back there are absolutely gorgeous. And you can see why they call them diamond tetras. Oh, there's a Microtaenopoma getting chased around by the butterfly cichlid, but he can't keep up with them. So they mostly stay to themselves. And then yeah, Tank Boss is the little African butterfly cichlid, but he doesn't actually do any damage. There's no nip fins or anything. If anything, the diamond tetras are more aggressive with each other. So yeah, and there is a black lancer catfish somewhere in there. Very, very meek and mild species. To be honest, the whole group, they're all just very unconventional fish that you wouldn't normally keep together. The Microtaenopoma obviously used to be in their own species only tank, but they actually come out a little bit more with these fish in here. You do see them a little bit more. And then next door, she's made a right old mess, but we've got Agatha and Steve. Although I need to move Agatha because she started taking chunks out of Steve. They were getting on really well together, and Steve was starting to look really, really good after absolutely destroying his tail and everything. And this tank did look quite smart, but she's flipped over a lily pad and she's pulled some plants out and things. So I've got a plan for Agatha to go either up in the 5 foot with the Oscar and the Hoplo catfish, which if she does damage to those, they're a little bit hardier fish and they can probably, you know, take the hit, or they might stay out of the way a little bit more. Steve, you can just see him poking his head out at the back. Steve would probably really rather be on his own now. So the plan is to move Agatha the turtle. She's a musk turtle. I've had her 6-7 years now. So she's about as big as they get. She's about 6 inches long, her shell. But yeah, this is the trouble with turtles. They'll be fine up to a certain point. And she's not aggressive. She's just, you know, she's gonna hurt him there, look. If he hadn't moved out of the way, she would have scratched him. And then if you have a look at him, he's missing a chunk out of his tail, which I'm not very happy about. But Steve seems happy enough. Just Agatha, this is the trouble with trying to keep turtles with fish. She's taken a big chunk out of his tail, and his other fins are growing back really nicely after the thrashing that he gave himself in the move, because he loves to just thrash constantly in a bucket if he's not in a tank. He gets very, very stressed out. But I'd really rather him not be missing half his tail. So Agatha is going to move this week, and yeah, I think I need to do some work on that 5 foot and make it a little bit prettier. So I will hopefully show you that at some point. But she's not being aggressive or anything, she's just being a turtle, because she's got, you know, 4 legs with 4 very sharp feet with loads of claws on them. And then she's got a very sharp beak, which is just designed for chomping through things like a tiny snapping turtle. So as much as they are quite chill together, and she's not, you know, actively trying to chase him or anything, you know, if he snapped, he'd be chasing her around like a hockey puck and trying to bite her legs and things. But they're not aggressive, these turtles. They're just curious. Kind of like a pufferfish. So I think Agatha is going to be moving into a different tank. And then Steve will have all of this to himself, and I can tidy it up a little bit. And these blue Medusas are another one I'm trying to tame up. Slowly but surely, they're getting there. This is more of a blue ramshorn snail tank at the moment. But the group of Medusas are doing really well. They just like to hang out upside down underneath everything, where you can barely see them, which is really helpful. But they are doing well, and they are blue. And my camera really doesn't want to focus on them because of this plant up at the front. But yeah, this tank has got some Ancestris macrothalamus, blue Medusa Plecos, another one that stays small, about the same size as a Bristlenose, and then the males get a lot of tentacles on them, and they're this lovely cobalt blue colour as well. But they're just a little bit shy. I think there's a couple of them in the filter as well by the looks of it. There's one there, look. And then there's this one underneath this piece of wood here. But I wish they'd come out a little bit more because they're so pretty. But I don't know whether it's just the way that I've got everything sort of tangled up in here, or because they're still wild and they're still getting used to everybody. But they're just not playing up for the camera very much today. Bless them. But they are really beautiful. Lovely. They're LDA074, I believe they are. Blue Medusa Plecos, Ancestris macrothalamus, different from Ancestris ranunculus, which are the big Brazilian Medusa Plecos that are normally found where zebra plecos are found. And a lot of blue ramshorn snails. Here we go, so I've made some adjustments to my 5 foot to make it appropriate for Agatha, like giving her light and things. I have one very, very angry, scratchy musk turtle here who is trying to bite me and is trying to scratch me. Turtles don't like to be handled very much. She's probably going to musk on me as well in a minute, so let's pop her in. Go on, in you go. So this is the 5 foot. It is a little bit of a work in progress, mainly because I'm not capable at the moment of putting any rocks in here. I've got a lovely stack of rocks that I'm going to blend all of this stack of wood in with the substrate and things. But for now, it's just a very sort of South American biotope, lots of tannins. And it was initially supposed to just be the Oscars and the Jack Dempsey and my group of hoplo catfish in here. My red-tailed shark has ended up in here because he's a little tyrant. And then I've also taken on this clown loach, which he was looking worse than that. He's got what you'd probably call wasting disease. And I took him on just as a rehome off Facebook because I just wanted to know if I could fix him, basically. And he is actually looking better than he was. So this tank is, you know, there's a lot of open space down at the bottom. To be honest, there's basically nothing on the bottom. But because of where it is right underneath the windows, it looks a lot murkier than it is. But this is basically what the 5 foot is looking like at the moment. And up top, I've got lots and lots of plants and things. So like the overall effect is quite nice. But it is a work in progress. And obviously I've got Agatha's UV and heat bulb lodged in the top there as well. So yeah, it is very dark with tannins. So we've got a bunch of hoplo catfish, red-tailed shark and a loach, my Oscar, and then a couple of other South American cichlids. So there's a crowbeer, I think they are, and the Jack Dempsey, and I think the other one that's in there is a Acara, a royal Acara in there as well, which looks quite similar to the crowbeer. So this tank doesn't have any substrate in it at the moment, but this is my L509, hopefully breeders. I think I have either 2 males and a female, or 2 females and 1 male. One of them sort of sporadically caves, but only one of them consistently caves, which is this one here. And as you can see, they're pretty chunky. But I've basically just stacked a bunch of, what's this called, dragonstone in here, and a couple of little breeding caves. Supposedly these can breed when they're quite small, and they look quite keen on breeding. I just haven't seen any sort of trapping behaviour or anything just yet. As far as I know, they'll probably have quite a small batch of eggs, but they're such a popular bristlenose at the moment, and they are really, really beautiful as well. This male is quite sort of greyish, but one of them in here is very, very bright with the big spots. So hopefully I get a good mixture of fry out of them. Is that one there? Underneath the rock? I feel like that's one there. Yeah. So that to me almost looks like a female hanging out outside the cave waiting for the right moment to come in. He isn't flapping, so I don't think he's on eggs at the moment. Oh yeah, there is one there, look. See, that one's very pretty. But there's 3 of them in here. I don't think there's one in that cave. And I'm just sort of waiting to see what they do, because I'd love some fry out of these. Bristlenoses are quite easy to breed, so in theory, once they're old enough and happy enough, I will start getting eggs out of these guys. Yeah, so you've seen the movement of that other one and started flapping. So I need to wait for there to be a thunderstorm and do a nice cold water change on these guys. And then hopefully we can get some L509 eggs. I think they call them honeycomb bristlenoses, but I'm not really too keen on the name, because then they get mixed up with Waven monsters and things like that. L509 is probably easier because it's better to be understood, really. And common names with these bristlenoses can get kind of crazy. So, but that's a very splendid fellow in there, actually. They're not very bristly. But there's definitely some breeding behaviour going on there. They're thinking about it. Fingers crossed. Hopefully in the future I'll be able to show you a little montage of L509 Bristlenoses breeding. And then I've just put some food in, so there's Daphnia floating around everywhere in here. But these are some, hopefully, tequila split fins in here. They are like a goodid. I think that's how you pronounce it, goodid. And as far as I know, the tequila ones are one of those that's extinct in the wild. And when I got them, they needed a little bit of conditioning, but actually they've turned out really nice. So the idea is these guys are in here and they're hopefully going to breed. In fact, some of these females are starting to look quite gravid. I don't really know if I've got any males or females, but they're really sweet. They're actually really quite personable little fellows. And I suppose there's always a risk that they're just normal Skiffias or normal split fins, but as far as I can tell, they're once they're mature, there's a good chance that these are the tequila ones. They're supposed to get an orange tail on them, or at least I think the males do. But this is one of those where most of the information about them is actually like zoos and conservation projects. But they're actually really quite sweet. Very personable little ones. So they're just down in this tank at the moment. Some of these are looking pretty chunky, which I'm hoping means that we might have babies soon. And I've just put a tangle of, you know, fake plants and some hornwort and things up at the top here. And hopefully little babies start turning up that the cories won't eat. But because of the size of them, I think they should probably have quite a few babies. But I think they just need to mature a little bit more before they start getting the colourful tail on them. They could be a different type of goodied, split fin. They could be a different type. They were sold to me as tequilas, but they weren't too expensive. So if they're not, you know, they're just full goodieds, and I'll have to try and work out what they are. But yeah, that's a fun little project that I have down in this tank, with loads of Daphnia going absolutely everywhere. So I've just got those guys and a couple of albino cories, and I think there's a couple of Bristlenoses in here as well. Oh, and one of the last oh my goodness, I can't even remember what type of cory that was. Let me know down in the comments below if you remember what cories they were. There's just one left after the rest of them sold. But I've got the rest of the albinos in here, chunky albino ones, albino bronzes. So yeah, that's a little project for over the winter. Just seeing if I can get these guys going. And they are really quite sweet. If I wiggle my fingers at the glass, they will they'll come over, and they're quite interested in what I'm doing. Quite personable. I've still got a whole group of these left. The ones I did sell, they have bred and produced a load of beautiful fry for their new owner. But these are the L136B Angelicus hypancistris. I've got loads of these left. I don't really know why they're not as popular. It might be because these are the small spotted ones. But I do have a nice group of these available. Mixture of males and females, and they are proven breeding as well. I don't understand why I can't get my flash to come on. So apologies about that. But they have been breeding. This guy traps quite often, but the last time the eggs fungused, I think because I didn't put them in a proper breeding box or anything. But I do take the eggs off these guys because the males do seem to like to eat the eggs after they've been laid. But the female on the right there is revving up to go in this cave. There could be eggs in there, I haven't actually checked today. And then I've got another male up in here as well. So these guys, super active, super easy to breed. But I think the L136 with the biggest spots are probably more popular. People line breed these, and the ones with the big spots are really quite attractive. So it might be just because these are bees, mixture of bees and A's really, that they're that they haven't gone anywhere yet. But they're quite similar to the L262s really, and I think they're really pretty. So these are hypancistris species. These are all wilds, and they're L136B Angelicus, although there's a couple of different hypancistris that are called Angelicus. These are different to the other ones, which are L005, I believe, which I've had in before as well. But they're just very, very pretty, great with the spots. And then this row down here are all guppies as well. So I've got the tank full of all of the crazy guppies where I'll inevitably siphon up a bunch of baby guppies when I'm doing water changes. And if I lose track of who's who, so that I don't cross some of the strains that I've got, they go in here. So this is the mixed guppy tank. there is a very pretty male in here that's like blue. And there's quite a nice female with quite a big tail. You can see her just up at the top there. She looks very, very full of babies as well. And then just millions and millions of babies. So this tank's just kind of mixed guppies. Next one along are the Russian laces, which are doing very well. There is one in here that I need to take out that has, it's a male that's been born without the lace pattern on him. And these Russian laces, I'm not as good at getting video of small fish. So that's the one that needs to be taken out. Oh, come on, camera. He needs to be popped next door because he has been born without the pattern on him. So he needs to go into the other tank as soon as I remember. And then that is the original male that I started off with. And I'm guessing the other ones are in the back somewhere. I've had a couple of very nice young males that be born. Really, really pretty seeing what they look like as sort of more juveniles. There's a younger one, look, there we go. And they have this beautiful snakeskin pattern on them. So I think they're called red Russian lace in here. So I'm just working on growing those out. And then next door was a little bit of an experiment because I had a very nice male that came out black with red edges on his tail. And he's got Dumbo fins and a really, really big tail. And then I basically popped him with a young female and I've just let them breed out. So I'm waiting to see how everyone turns out. A lot of the babies look like they're Dumbo and a lot of them look like they've got the black on them. So I'm just seeing if I can develop my own strain, but this is just me messing around really in here. And then obviously I've got the Endlers and the Japan Blue Endlers as well. But yeah, basically this run of tanks just down here is just a bunch of horn white in the top. Just fed them some dried Daphnia and some breeding mops and some flower pots. Not very exciting. And then once I've got enough of them, they will be going up for sale. So it will either be like assorted guppies, which will be super cheap. The red Russian laces, once I've got enough of them, will be a little bit more premium. And then, yeah, just kind of experimenting to see what I can do in this one. Just kind of messing around because guppies are fun. So there we have it. I'm going to leave it there for today. There's probably a couple of tanks that I've missed, but I've tried to show as much as I can. Will probably be the last tour of this year because I'm going to go on maternity leave in about a month now. I've got about 6 weeks before little dude comes. And then over the winter and things, I'm just going to be focusing on breeding a lot of these Livebearers out as much as I can, so that I've got a nice variety of these guys to offer in the new year. And I suppose any Plecos that I've got as well, you know, if I could breed a couple more of these out, that would be great. Although I do have like 4 or 5 of these as juveniles from last year's batch of babies available as well, which I don't think I showed their tank, but yeah. So thank you so much for watching and all of your continued support. I am going to try and record a couple more videos before I go on maternity leave, so that I've got a little bit of content to go out over the winter. But because it's so cold and the courier tends to get a lot of temporary staff in over the winter as well, and they don't look after the boxes as well as they're supposed to. I wasn't actually planning on sending fish out over the winter this year anyway, because I had an awful lot of very, very cold boxes last year. Didn't matter how many heat packs I put in either. Some of them were so overpacked it was ridiculous, and they were still arriving stone cold. So I wasn't really planning on sending fish out anyway, but I am hoping as much as I can to continue sending food out of the Pleco pops. And just messing around with all of my tanks anyway. Everyone's still going to need feeding and still going to need water changes, so hopefully it won't go completely quiet at my end. But thank you so much for all your continued support. And once I've started this next phase of my life, we'll hopefully be just continuing, just maybe a couple of little changes here and there, but hopefully not too drastic, she says. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day or evening or whatever you're doing, and drop me a comment down below which is some of your favourite fish that you've seen in the video today, or if you've got any suggestions for some cool Livebearers that you think I should try and get hold of to breed out over the winter. I wouldn't mind doing a very, very intense planted tank in the new year, like a Dutch style aquarium, because I did one in the past and I really enjoyed doing that. So I've got a couple of ideas. Anyway, see you soon. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.